Morning. Good
We are
morning,
live.
NDR.
Yes, NPR. NPR. Did you see that woman in front of the Congress?
No, I did not. I've
Yeah.
missed out a lot.
Yeah.
I've been focusing a lot on job aspects, this
Yeah.
week. So I've been off
Life stuff.
the internet a lot.
Yeah, life
What's
stuff.
happened?
Just they had the CEO of NPR and PBS testify, and they read all her old tweets and stuff from like not that long ago. And she's like,
Oh,
Trump is Hitler and he must be stopped by any means. Like just these, I pretty normal, you know, leftist posts, honestly. But you know, it was
oh,
pretty
wow.
embarrassing for
But you're
her.
ahead of a major, like, publicly funded journalistic publication, a news organization that's publicly funded. And oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, she didn't do so well. Um,
Oh wow, I missed that. Gosh, we should have clipped
it,
that and had that prepared to. I would have taken
but
a look at that.
again, it's the fire hose of cat lasers. I don't, take your pick. It's
Yes, right,
she
right.
also, it was funny because they also brought up the fact that, out of, all of their journalists and editors and things they have on staff, that there's zero Republicans. They're all Democrats. And she said essentially like, wow, that's news to me. That's very troubling.
Wait, and she's the editor,
Well,
or
she's the
she's the
CEO.
owner? Oh,
She's the
CEO. Okay,
runs it.
okay. Mm.
But yeah, should have gotten those clips. But that's one of those things that everybody's seen, but everybody's focused on the this signal gate, which it's odd to me that's still hanging around. But did you follow this at all? Did you
I
did you
did. Yes, I did. I am privy to Signalgate and
what is your
all of the talking points around it.
okay?
Well, I think it's interesting. I'm glad I waited to comment. I didn't comment on the initial hours. Plus, I was probably off the internet during that time too.
I did
So
too, by the way.
trying
I
to
was like
trying to
48-hour rule, not not
yes.
not touching this.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think that absolutely it was a mistake to include a journalist. I don't know that it's 100% clear now how the journalist got included, but it sounds like, thanks, Baxter. It sounds like there was some nefarious intent, either on the part of the reporter Goldberg, to disguise his own identity, or I don't know if there was some intentional ad. I don't know that we've really made any sort of gotten a definitive answer about that. But however, there is a possibility with the Signal app, which I use very regularly, um, to to be able to add someone, without having their phone number and exact name. They can actually alter their name, um, and just get added to a group chat. Now, I've gotten added to chats that I don't want to be a part of or didn't think I should be a part of, and I've exited myself. And but as a journalist, I'm in a chat with a bunch of national security people, and the vice president's in there. I'm staying, and I'm gonna report it because it's my job to do that. So I don't fault Goldberg, who is a slime bucket. I don't like. I didn't. I wasn't happy with Pete Hegseth's initial statement, but when you put it into context, he's flying on an airplane. He gets off an airplane, and the reporter started asking him a question about, including a reporter in a chat who just reposted a story about you having conversations about your Houthi attack and your Houthi planned attack, and you find out about this as you're stepping off of a plane, and find out who the person is. It's not it's not out of bounds for you to say immediately. You immediately think that person is an unhinged, horrible journalist, or whatever explanation he gave. But at the same time, it also showed that there's a little bit of a little bit of poor control or poor media discipline on the part of Hegseth, that he should have actually thought a little bit more about how he was going to respond to it, because it came off as um, sort of being, denying that it happened and not really taking any responsibility for the mistake of having a journalist, be in the chat that was, exposing, um, you know, conversations that he should not really have been privy to. Now, the Democrats, of course, are taking it as, oh my God, this is national security. Classified information was leaked. And of course they're going to do that. They're going to pounce on that. They're losing at every other turn. They need a win. So I don't fault them for taking that on, taking that position. However, was this classified information? Doesn't sound like it. The mission itself went off successfully. The Houthis were attacked. There was no leak to the enemy. There was no leak to foreign entities at all. It just was, the chat was infiltrated basically, and whether or not that was intentionally or inadvertently, that's something that we need to be discussing, because why is our national security team, why are government officials using a private app for encrypted instant messaging conversations? That there should be there's a reason why that's happening, and the reason why that's happening is there is no government equivalent that is as efficient and reliable, and that's a problem that needs to be addressed. And so to me, that's kind of the bottom line. But you can't get all in a tizzy and talk about classified information being released when there really was no classified information. And Democrats were also using Signal. It wasn't like the Biden administration wasn't using Signal. And two things about the journalists, this whole whataboutism, what if, this was the Biden administration and this report came out from, through the Atlantic about this. First of all, that would never have happened, because even if the reporter got in the chat and was invited in the chat, they would have never leaked the story about it happening. Not at all. If it were the same reporter from the Atlantic, Goldberg, it would not have been a story. So this wouldn't even be a conversation at all. So that's just kind of ridiculous that's the case. But we've had multiple instances on the Democrat side of things where actual classified information was leaked or sent inappropriately to people, and people keep bringing up the Hillary Clinton email server. And I actually kind of went back because I had to go back and kind of refresh my memory about it. Well, remember that came up because Andrew Weiner, who was a representative at the time, married to Huma Abedin, who is Hillary Clinton's top aide, was getting investigated for a conversation that he was having with a minor, like sexual conversation exchange that he was having with a minor, got his laptop seized, and then they found emails from Huma Abedin to him that were coming from Hillary Clinton's classified server, Hillary Clinton's server, but the information that she was forwarding to herself or to Weiner had classified information in it, things that were actually labeled as classified information. And this was reported by the FBI. That server was not encrypted at all. There were a bunch of attempts to hack that server, and none of them were infiltrated by any foreign entities that we know of. But there were a bunch of attempts. There were a bunch of phishing scams that people within the State Department fell for, and that prompted, I believe, I don't know if it was like some sort of internal investigation, and they got a warning slapped on them about making sure they weren't using private emails to communicate classified information. So this was an issue. The Democrats completely denied everything. Hillary Clinton, basically said, no comment throughout the entire hearing about it. So this whole what would the Republicans do if Democrats did it or Democrats didn't do it? It's sort of kind of a you're gaslighting us, period. This isn't that case. So yeah, that's all my my takes on that. But yeah, Um, Admit the mistake, admit you did it. I think Waltz did say that, like, well, look, we made a mistake. The reporter shouldn't have been in the chat. Now what? Now what do we do? Let's prevent this from happening again. Let's prevent Russia or China or India or whoever from getting into our private communications.
Hey, good morning, Perseus.
Hello, Eric.
Hi, Perseus.
I really thank you. That was a great report.
Yeah, definitely. So it's interesting. I have very similar thoughts as you do, but when it happened, my immediate reaction was, this looks sloppy. This is not good. But it's the Atlantic, and it's this, it's Goldberg, who, he has a huge like shit trail of, awful made up, bullshit stories that are, framed, precisely in the wrong way to make, Trump look as bad as possible. That said, we've talked about this before. Unfortunately, the right, Trump, MAGA, the way our culture and our, society is structured, they have zero room for error, right?
Yes.
The left can crap their pants all day long, right? They can botch the Afghan withdrawal. They can, get busted with a server, a completely, separate home server that was secretly constructed and put in their spare bathroom, and they're running the entire State Department off of that, other email address. It's not a big deal when they do it. And when, the right does stuff, and again, they're not blameless, not perfect, they mess up all the time, right? But it's such a bigger deal. It's always like, DEFCON 8 or whatever the biggest DEFCON is. I think it's DEFCON 1, actually.
Yes.
But so first of all, that was the initial thing.
I just watched War Games recently, so I had to refresh my memory on that.
It's a great 80s classic.
But it was very interesting because, my first thought was, wow, they shouldn't have been using Signal, right? But, it didn't take even 24 hours for us to find out that actually they use Signal officially across the national security portion of the program. And, it's important to point out that this is very different than, look, I mean, put aside for a moment whether or not they should, right? But NatSec is not foiable, right? They are not, like, most of what they do is not publicly, accessed, right?
Yes.
And the instances of the government using Signal and encrypted apps and disappearing apps and even Zoom calls to get around, leaving a paper trail during the Biden administration, especially, was mostly done by people that were not in national security. They use Signal and these other methods to get around, for instance, leaving a paper trail around the COVID response, right? That's something that we experience real time. It's like, wait a second, we can't FOIA these emails because they disappeared because you used an app that's not authorized.
Yeah.
To your point, there was zero repercussions about that. There was zero, outrage about, Fauci and Collins and these guys using these apps to cover their trail, and they are FOIAble. Their paper trail is supposed to be public. There's a reason why they're supposed to use the official emails. And look, could the government ever create an app as good as Signal? I mean, Signal's not perfect, but no, of course they can't do anything right. So it is, it's not a surprise that the government can't, like, especially in this day and age, right? They're everybody's compromised, everybody's hacked, right? You have to assume everybody's listening to everything you do. And John Ratcliffe and the other people that were in front of Congress yesterday and the day before, they said, as soon as I got in, hired, went to my desk the first day, they go, here's your phone, here's Signal, here's this other app, here's your email, here you go. And so, to me, that was a huge piece of the puzzle that I was outraged. I was like, why are they using Signal? I was like, all of a sudden, okay, well, that's why they're using Signal, because that's what they use, right? Yes. And so immediately that portion of the complaint goes away. Right?
Yes,
it's exactly. They all do it. We can argue about whether or not we should, but right now it is the default, right? That is the standard. Okay, so boom, done. the way Waltz described it is that he claims he doesn't know Goldberg. I have no idea, but he claims that his number got in his phone from a group chat. And it's interesting because this happens all the time, right? Somebody
Yes.
will text
Yes.
you on a group chat
Yep.
and it's the person you know and a bunch of other numbers.
Yeah.
Now, if you have an iPhone, which they have, Siri sucks these days, but she still does a pretty good job of going, this may be Nikki, right? This, is this Nikki Johnson's number? And I'm like, oh yeah, it is, put that in my address book or whatever. He didn't do that with Goldberg's number, but that's how he claims that Goldberg's number got into his his sort of personal ecosystem. Again, I don't know, right? He may have been, good buddies with him and he's denying it. That would be bad.
But it's also not unusual for reporters and politicians to have each other's phone numbers for various reasons, various communication reasons, not in a friendly way, business way.
Yeah. No, it's all business. But Waltz he swears that he did not know Goldberg. He's never talked to him. He's never called him. And that the best they can figure out is that his number got, he used the word sucked in, but, on a group chat, like he was essentially, texted, some time ago, I guess when he was in Congress or whatever, and Goldberg's number was on it. Then apparently his assistant, Andrew Wong, who is a staffer, like he's not a political appointment. He was somebody that works in the National Security Administration. He was the one that created and added the people to the stream. So the jury is still out whether or not Waltz was the one that said, all right, JG, excuse me, that's what they're claiming.
Yeah.
That there was another JG, right? And apparently that's what, I don't use Signal that much. Is that how it works? Because my phone.
Well, it's just when you're creating a chat in Signal, you get the people, you have two choices to do this. If you want to create a chat about a specific topic or, with a specific group of people, you set up the chat, then you can use an invite link, and then you go to your own contacts and find the people you want and send them the link. You can do it that way, or you can search for people in Signal who are already in Signal, who have the app, in the account. You can search for them by the name that you want to search. Well, people can change their name. You can be anonymous on Signal, so they can change their name. Their number doesn't show up. It used to show up. Like you used to be able to kind of look at people's profile and see all of those things. Now it's
just the name.
It's an optional. The information that you want to share is optional. And so that's why I'm saying I don't think it's clear. I honestly don't think it's all entirely forthcoming that we're getting the exact information about.
Well, so based on
go ahead.
So super quick, based on what we know in the screens, he was added by the second way that you mentioned, right? He did not get a link and then click on it and add himself.
That's what it sounds like.
He was added from Waltz's phone. Waltz claims that his staffer was the one that was doing the adding, which is very commonplace, right? Yeah. Like you don't like sometimes they have their own phone. Sometimes they're like, hey, dude, set us up. We need a group chat.
Absolutely. Yep.
So we're gonna find out if and there's been some reporting about this staffer Wong, about his political leanings. His wife apparently is a super progressive like activist. Who knows? I mean, in DC, it seems like everybody's got, some bad, some questionable ties.
Yeah. And the staffers are holdover. Like, I mean, I'm sure part of Doge, they weren't going in and like firing every single staffer on day one. They were trying to get up and running and doing their job. So they don't know who's who still at every point. I mean, there's so many possibilities of how he got added to the chat. I think it's interesting though. When did the chat get set up too? Like, I didn't know that answer because that makes a difference.
Yeah,
that makes a difference.
There's some info on that. I think.
Okay, no, because the reason I'm asking is because if they set up the chat like months ago when they were having strategy, and Goldberg was in it, why wasn't he reporting on that? Like we know that he strategically timed his report on this, for the national security
He
meeting,
did. He did. He
yeah.
did time his
So we know
release.
that part.
But apparently this chat was created not that long ago, because in
Okay.
the screens you can see other people were added, like Stephen Miller was added like after Goldberg, because Goldberg
Okay.
could see like
Okay.
a couple other people added after him. So
Yeah.
and their claim was that the group was fairly new. The one thing I'll say in
Okay.
Percy's, I'm sorry, we're hijacking the conversation here,
No,
but
that's fine. Take your time. Take your time.
other people have made this point. I know it sounds like copium, right? But when I read the headline, I was like, oh shit, right? This is private stuff. We all say dumb shit on chats that we think are private, that we wouldn't say if they weren't private. But reading the messages, there's nothing embarrassing in there. As a matter of fact, you had JD was honestly pushing back against doing the strike at all.
Yeah.
And then Stephen Miller said, sorry, this has already been green lighted by the boss. We got to go with it. And yeah, we can quibble over its world war plans, attack plans, a TikTok, a sort of a timeline. Was it sensitive information? Absolutely. Right. Like, should they have shared that with Jeffrey Goldberg? No. Right. Whether or not it's technically classified or not.
Correct.
But
correct.
It was very heartening to see the conversation.
Yeah.
Because nobody said anything stupid. It was all pretty, pretty above, it was above board and intelligent. So that was, it could have been a lot worse, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think. That's why the Democrats are hanging on to this. Oh my God, you leaked this information. You stupid people. That's how they're framing it, though. It technically was a leak. It technically was a leak because there was a reporter in on the conversation.
Right, he was the one that leaked it.
Yeah, and then he reported on it. So you know what I mean? Like
I'm with you though.
The problem is that he was in the chat in the first
I would have
place.
totally stayed in that chat.
I will go back to that multiple times. That's the problem, and they want to deny that piece of it. So so they can't. They've lost the argument when they say that, because they view Signal. If they think that this is a breach of a possible breach of national security by foreign entities or things like that, they were also using Signal. They cannot use that argument at all. So the problem is that the journalist was invited. That's the only problem I'm seeing here. And then, yes, if you want to get technical about using, Signal being the issue for using that, what is the alternative? It sounds like there isn't one. That's a problem.
It's a bigger issue. And, again, we did see that all throughout the Biden administration. Actually, I looked back and did some research. There were a ton of news stories and scandals and little mini things that got zero attention, that were essentially the same thing. I mean, without a mole, without Steve Bannon being added to the chat by accident.
Right.
Perseus, are you familiar with Signalgate? Which I
know. I heard a little bit about Signalgate, but it's interesting we're talking about Signalgate because it kind of sets up to the other topic I want to explore, which is this crypto venture that the Trump family has launched. And I want to get what your feeling is about it, but let me just give my take on the Signal thing. It's interesting to see how MAGA is operating, like the relation between MAGA and tech world and tech bros. So my question for both of you is: did you think that Trump? Do you think Trump knows anyone in the owners of Signal?
I don't think so.
The CEO of the CEO of NPR is on Signal's board.
Yes, I saw that yesterday. I saw that revealed yesterday.
Well, I'm not that familiar.
No, because I missed that hearing that you were talking. We were because we talked a little bit about that hearing in the beginning, Perseus.
Because I'm very sensitive about. This is the thing I do is whenever someone tells me there's a great app on the market, I don't just rush out and use it. I do this thing where I research the owners and what their political leaning is, because I think that matters these days, right? Everyone's concerned about big tech and how it's being weaponized against us. And do you think that Trump and MAGA. You know, the way he was naive about the swamp in Trump 1.0. Do you think there's some naivete too about the usage of technology?
I don't know in this case because these signal was preloaded on all of their phones. So it wasn't like this happened before Trump took office. Like this wasn't like, oh, the Trump administration is embracing Signal as some new thing that's happening. It was already preloaded.
Yeah, it's
So
not like
I
you
don't
forced
think
them to use Truth Social or
yeah,
something.
right, right. So and the other thing of it is how many tech companies, you know, with apps that actually people use that are effective, efficient, reliable, are run by and owned by conservatives. We can
There,
certainly say there are ones that are like pro free speech and will stand up for free speech, but you know,
I can't think of any.
being conservative
Did
and
you
like
guys see
outright,
the? Did you guys
I
see
don't
the?
think there are any.
Did you see
I
the
don't know.
Doge interview last night? You guys
No.
should watch this. Brett Baer, which by the way is pretty much the only. I don't watch Fox that much. I mean, not it's fine. But I watch other. I try and watch a bunch of different stuff, but I usually try and watch the Brett Baer show at 6 because I think it's the best and honestly the most even keeled straight news hour left on TV. You know what I mean? It really feels like he's the closest to sort of what we grew up with, even though it wasn't that fair when we grew up. We just thought it was, right? But he does a really good job. Anyway, so last night he did this sit down with the Doge team. Elon was there, and then essentially the senior people. And I didn't know this, but these are all like CEOs, like billionaires, millionaires, tech bro. Like these are not just tech bros. These are founders. These are people. These are guys that are millionaires. Either took some time off from their company or already retired, and they're doing this because they're patriots and they care. But it kind of fits into this really well because to listen to them, sort of talk about the tech and what Doge is doing, the waste, and to hear them kind of explain it in real time was there's a lot of buzz about it this morning. It's getting a lot of attention, and rightly so. At first they all kind of had their talking points, which they got messaging training, which you can kind of tell. But once they kind of got past giving their little talking points, their rehearsed bit, there was a back and forth. It was an off the cuff, momentum. And all of these guys, A, very, very smart, B, very, very successful. And to listen to them describe each of these silos, each one was sort of overlooking a different thing, and they're trying to bring them all together because the big problem with the federal government is it doesn't talk to itself, right? Where these, apparently there's one electronic bank account that every single agency pulls money from, and there's zero accountability and oversight of that bank account. So you have the Department of Agriculture, the Interior, Education Department, whatever, just sucking billions out of this. And they likened it to if you had a bank account that was not just shared by you and your husband, but also your kids and also your cousins and also their cousins and your extended family, and you had no control or visibility in terms of who was taking what out and why. So I encourage everybody to listen to this.
Yeah, I'm looking at this now. It was 30 minutes.
It was, and it's way longer. They released the extended interview.
Oh, they did. Okay.
But it was the best PR piece for Doge ever. And they need to do a lot more of it. They need to essentially do the same thing on CNN. It'll be a tougher questioner. I mean, Brett Baer brought up some pretty good counter arguments and points to have them addressed, but Fox is still a friendly venue. They should have the exact same gaggle on CNN soon, frankly, because I think it'll go a long way.
Yeah, I don't regularly watch the news. I do watch Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream because I think she's very balanced as well. She's always been journalistically pretty balanced. Brett Baer, for the most part, is yes.
So these are our tech bros. These are the pro MAGA tech bros.
Those are the senior tech bros. Like I forgot which companies they were. Like one of the guys here was the founder of is the founder of Airbnb.
Yeah, I
So it's
just saw
not
that. He was in charge of now placed in charge of the retirement
that's
system,
right. The
cataloging
mine, the limestone
the
mine.
yeah, yeah. Which is
Well, you know,
funny because I do think there is some use for having paper records, and I think it's the
I was going to
paper
say the
records
same
that are
thing.
being stored
Yep.
down there.
Yep.
But the timing and I don't know. It was just strange the way that story was being reported. Was that how long it took to actually process
That's right.
someone's retirement?
Yeah.
If that's all because it's on paper, then that's a problem that needs to be addressed. But storing it in a mine
Agreed.
doesn't sound like a bad idea. But like if we're not
No.
using the mine somewhere else, but it's the processing part that I think would be the issue for people. I think.
Agree.
So I don't know how to. This is interesting. This sets up for what I want to talk about. The explore more about the crypto venture, and both of you familiar with the Trump token that's
No.
being launched this
No,
weekend?
I remember us talking about it early on, like during the campaign,
Yeah.
and talking about. I remember saying how like it kind of creeped me out,
Kind of grifty.
and
Was
yeah,
it a little grifty? Like who are the players and
yeah, and is it like setting people up to lose a bunch of money? I don't know. All of these coins, you don't really know who to trust. I'm not that savvy in the crypto. I mean, I do invest in money in crypto, but
Well, and they're all different too. You know, you have
they're all different. I
Bitcoin
don't
and
understand this. So yeah, so you'll have to. I'm going to
So
rely on
I'll
you
do my
here.
best. This is really I'm new to this topic too, but it's only coming on my radar because when I'm watching X on X and I'm seeing, we're talking about PR, right? And MAGA trying to keep its brand for the next 4 years. And when you go on X, you are seeing the other side positioning this Trump token as an example of the grift that Trump is surrounding himself with, or maybe that's not fair. It's like maybe the opportunists that are that industry taking advantage of the MAGA brand and how it could potentially ruin MAGA going into the midterms because people will just associate the whole idea that MAGA is really catering, that Trump is really there for the billionaires. It's a very low resolution talking point. He's really there to enrich a certain industry, and he's not really there to help the everyday man. So if I can pull up this article and we could try to find out more about it. This is from Politico. Yes, I know Politico, but I think it's kind of neutral anyway. So it says Trump family crypto venture to launch a stable coin. And I think this is the token that you were talking about, Nikki, right? You mentioned earlier. So it is the crypto company. Wait, let me just go to the first paragraph. So this crypto venture is run by Trump's son. Is this Eric? Okay, Eric Trump. So that one there, that's a flag there. If you can, we in advertising we call it a flag. So that's something to flag that it's his son Eric running it, and it's a stable coin. I'm not clear what that means. Stable coin that's pegged to the value of the U.S. dollar, expanding the family's first family's ties to the crypto industry. So the company is World Liberty Financial, and it was launched during the campaign.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to go to the parts that kind of sticks out. So this is the part here. It says we are offering a digital dollar stablecoin that sovereign investors and major institutions can confidently integrate into their seamless, secure cross-border transactions. Zach Witkoff, who co-founded World Liberty with Trump's son, said in a statement. So the thing interesting about Zach Witkoff is that his father is Trump's special appointee as a special envoy to the Middle East. So there are these strings of relationships happening in the background that seems to afford them these startups, these opportunities, more than people that that wouldn't know the first family. And the left is capitalizing, pun intended, on these kind of strange dealings in the background to make the case that this is who you guys voted for. He's not really for the everyday man. He's in office to help all these other startups and opportunists. So what is your take on crypto venture? How does it feel to you? Do you think it is off brand for MAGA? And do you think that this is going to have an effect for the midterms? This could grow into something, you know what I mean, like a thing that the left could use to
use
well, I mean, in terms of how the left is using it, I mean, the left has been saying stuff like this about Trump and his family since 2015. So I don't know that that's going to have a different effect on voters. The people who already dislike Trump and distrust Trump for this type of thing aren't going to change their opinion, and the people who are Trump no matter what are going to see this as a nothing burger. Like if we're either going to invest in it or we're not going to invest in it, and it's not going to affect our votes at all. And that's kind of how I feel about it. In terms of kind of the cronyism related to it, I mean, there's only so many rich people in the world, unfortunately, and those are the people who have ties to government and banking and all of these things. I think the thing about crypto that has made a lot of people interested in it is that people who aren't rich could invest in it and actually, get rich off of investing in it. It has been something that was marketed. I first learned about it truly from young, very young Black male entrepreneurs. And it sort of got me excited, from that standpoint as a way to start to get rich and, and learn about it in that way. So if it's now, kind of government sponsored, if that's what we're calling this, I don't know. I don't know the exact wording. Is there going to be some tie to, if there's a tie to the dollar and backing the dollar with crypto? I don't know what the negatives or, the downsides are of that, but I don't want government involved in it at all. And so that's a problem. But we also do need government involved to protect people who are investing as well, because we've seen a lot of these private entities develop a coin and then people get bankrupt or, lose a ton of money, because of bad investments and because of, kind of bad, or no regulation. I've lost money with, companies going bankrupt when I didn't, before I learned that I needed to take my coin and own it myself and put it in my own wallet. I didn't know that type of thing. So like there are certain things that I think, government can do to help protect people, but should it be getting involved with, backing currency? And I don't know the answer. I'm not a money person. I'm not a crypto expert at all. So I'm like talking off the cuff here on that. But in terms of the cronyism itself, these are rich people. They're that doesn't surprise me. This is Trump world. These are people they know. And then, kind of the politics of it all. I don't know that it's going to change much.
So again, just going back to what people are just concerned with the optics, right? You have this crypto coin started by someone in Trump's family, and then Trump comes out to endorse it, and then the price goes up. So
Yeah, but is he endorsing it as the president of the United States or as a like individual human being? I don't know the answer to that. I don't
that's
know how you separate
pretty
the two.
tricky.
While he
Yeah.
is president, I mean, but he did endorse it and back it during his campaign and and beforehand. So I don't know. Um, I know how you do that. He's still a businessman, as well. Uh, I don't know. Yeah,
What, what's your take?
I'm not super familiar with this, so I'll keep it brief. I think Nikki made a really good point that essentially they've been accusing Trump of this since 2015, 2014, whenever he, came down the escalator. They have made it their life's mission to completely destroy his brand, his hotels, his livelihood, his children's livelihood, the livelihood and earning potential of anyone who's even remotely associated with him. So in a way, I don't blame him at all for coming up with Trump shoes, Trump watches, Trump coins, Trump anything to try and make some money for his family, because this idea that came with him in 2016, that he should not be near the presidency because he was a businessman. I always felt like that was exactly opposite of what the founding fathers actually wanted for this country. And to sort of make that kind of declarative statement, which the left did and still does, that you can only be a career politician, you can only be somebody who went to high school, went to college for government, came out of college, went straight into government, and that's the only way that you can participate, is more corrupt. It's more
correct.
it's very wrong. It's completely 180 from the way this country is supposed to work. And we don't want our leaders abusing their position to make money. But you look at what the Biden family did, right? And whatever, what Trump is doing, whatever you feel about it, if it's icky or whatever, he's out in the open about it. Look at this. He's not trying to hide
That
it.
is that
He's
is
got
very
a
true. It
media
is it
company.
is very
He's like, it
transparent.
is what it
Yeah.
is.
Unlike Hunter Biden's artwork
Absolutely. And then you
being
have
sold
all
to
these other
Russian
politicians,
diplomats or Chinese diplomats.
yeah, on public salaries, becoming, multi millionaires.
Yeah.
And we have no
So,
idea why. Well, we do know
mhm.
why, but it is so hollow and so hypocritical that I don't care. I don't, look, what would I prefer that Trump not have a meme coin and a social platform and be as pure as the driven snow? Sure. But right, we're not in Kansas anymore. And to insist Trump
Hmm.
act like he's in Kansas when everybody else is not is completely unfair as well. So I like, by the way, I like crypto. I like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is different than the other coins, right?
Yeah.
Bitcoin is a
Yeah. I don't
blockchain.
even understand the other coins. I'm
They're
like, that's how ignorant I
they're
am on
not the
this whole
same
thing.
thing, but
Yeah.
I do like the idea of challenging, the idea of fiat currency. I do not
Hmm.
like the idea of a central bank digital currency, which
Yes.
is sort of coming along part and parcel with this stuff. So we're going to have to really pay attention to this. But I like the competition. I like, hey, coins. Let's get different forms of currency, and because the system we have now is not great. So bring it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an
Yeah. I like
interesting
that. I like
perspective.
those points. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally think this is kind of cringe, and it's not so much Trump. It's I just don't like the people around surrounding him that's lining up and trying to bank on his brand. So that's really my real issue. I think Trump for me is like an equal opportunity person. It's like I'll give everyone a chance. I'll license my brand, but sometimes I think maybe he needs to. That's just me. Like you got to watch who wants to have an audition with you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
That's
and if
a
you're
great point.
trusting your
Great
brand to them, you got to make sure that they don't mess it up, because there are other things to be concerned about. I mean, there are still a lot. 9 out of 10 people don't know how crypto is or what that means. They just only look at the optics of it. Right. But to your point, Eric, you're right. I mean, this attention is very selective, because why isn't anyone talking about the many contracts that were given out to people in the last regime? right?
Yeah. Percy, no, I think you made a great point about, because I think that was what I brought up when I first brought this up back during the campaign, was people attaching themselves to the Trump brand, or Trump giving his brand to people um involved in this, and taking that risk. And if it fails, it's a failure of Trump brand,
Exactly.
and so is it, if they're investing as a family, are they going to lose money? That kind of thing. It's sort of that risk part of it. I think that's what I brought it up for back then. So that is a good, that's a
So,
good angle, aside from the political angle
yeah,
here, I
because in
think.
my industry, it's common for vendors to, if they want to enter into the market and scale rapidly, the strategy is you kind of piggyback with a known brand already that's out in the market. So you kind of save on advertising on what you are. So let's say if we want to introduce your line of better mousetrap, right? And rather than coming up with your own brand, you go maybe do a deal with Gucci or Louis Vuitton mousetrap, right? And then you can stick. But what the brand managers there would make sure that you safeguard that brand. If we let you put Trump, like Louis Vuitton or Trump, on your mousetrap, make sure that your product doesn't hurt the customer, and because that will reflect on Louis Vuitton, not on your mousetrap. So
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
my one of my concerns about these, like, who are you people, crypto bros, just showing up suddenly in Mar-a-Lago and says, hey, I got a great app for you, Eric Trump, go tell your dad, and we can
Yeah.
like make a buck
Yeah.
from this. I'm not
Yeah.
against that. I'm just like,
Yeah.
there are other things at stake here that we need to be mindful of, that could become a
Mhm.
casualty. Like this thing that's coming up in Wisconsin. Have you guys been tracking that Elon Musk
No.
is concerned about? They're trying to, there's a special election for the Supreme Court, the state
No.
Supreme Court.
So, well, that's so funny that you said that, because I kind of was gonna segue into that as well. It's not even just it's not Elon Musk that's been sounding the alarm. It's been Scott Presler all along sounding the
Yeah,
alarm,
because
and
mhm,
about these special elections that are happening. The Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin is very pivotal. And so it definitely needs to be talked about, why the GOP, in general, is it making this a big deal, but why the local and state GOP is not making this a big deal is also an issue. This is a grassroots um, local problem that is nationwide. It is not a new problem, but I think I think there's a couple of issues in play here. One, the GOP has been traditionally and long term awful at getting message out, at building up an infrastructure, especially when they're faced by kind of progressives, and learning how to fight back. They've been relying nationally on the Trump effect, and Trump to actually be be the face of the party and kind of do all of the work. And then, Scott Presler has been doing the work of getting out the vote. But the local and state GOPs have been sort of off the hook because of this. They haven't really been putting in the work, and to actually fight these battles, to make these battles well known either, is a big issue. Why aren't they doing that? Right now, we have two issues at play. We have the issue that Trump is doing a lot, particularly with Doge, and them really not doing a great job of saying, look, hey, the things that we're doing with tariffs, with taking away federal jobs, with thinning out the government, is going to hurt you for a little bit. But that doesn't mean, but I need you to trust the plan. Like they're not doing a great job of messaging. You had the National Republican Congressional Committee chair tell Republicans to stop holding town halls, because Democrats and progressives were coming in and infiltrating and taking over their town halls, even when they weren't in their districts. So now you have people telling Republicans, hey, don't defend what we're doing at the national level here, in so many words. So are you disengaging your local population? Are you making them think, hey, we're winning all these things at the federal level, but the local level isn't as important, or this special election is like, we don't really care, this is happening, we're going to win anyway, or we just don't have a great message for you right now. So okay, we'll just stand by and just let the Democrats win. Those are big issues. You have that, plus the fact that the GOP locally has not been very successful. Engaged, they disengage, they don't invest in local infrastructure at all. It's just been it's horribly done. And so this is an example of how we can lose big locally and will affect us nationally. I don't know how to say it. Like we say it, we talk about this all the time here, that your local government speaks to you the most, and you have to be engaged. You have to. You're the party. You're the party. It's not just it's just kind of like these local GOP heads. Like, of course, there's people who control the purse strings. There's people who are grandfathered in and, keep people out who want to come in and change and infiltrate. But there's still a way that you can do it. You can get voters registered. You can get people to vote. And you can also become a part of your central committee and your state committee, and start to kind of infiltrate and take in as MAGA, and it's not happening. So the warning was set, we've warned about it, and now it's actually coming to fruition. And it may be the combination of the Trump effect of policies trickling down. I don't know the answer to that, what's happening yet.
So if it's not clear to anyone just watching this or what's going on in Wisconsin, we could potentially lose 2 congressional seats in the midterms, because the idea is that if they get this guy into the Supreme Court in Wisconsin, then he has the means to gerrymander Wisconsin into a way that would favor Democrats, and they could potentially gain 2 seats in the midterms, and then the House would lose its majority there. So this really underscores the importance of paying attention to local politics. And I know we're trying to move on from we've moved on from the last topic about the optics of the crypto bros, but that was really my concern too in terms of branding. Like when you go through these kind of election cycles, you really have to protect your brand all the time. You can't have like the news cycle now talk about, there are come up with ideas that the Trump brand is now all about nepotism and cronyism. Do you know what I mean? Because people going into the Wisconsin election will have these kind of background noise, potentially making them think differently about MAGA. That was really why I was also bringing up about talking about this crypto thing that they're trying to launch. Like, what's your take, Eric?
Yeah, I think that this is not about Trump. This is about turnout. You got to remember that Republicans tend to work, whereas most Democrats, honestly, they have a lot more time on their hands. That's a generality, and it's true. The Democrats, they still are not in the majority. They're waning. Their party, popularity is way down, and rightfully so. But you still have a very dedicated, small core group of Democrats that they can get out. You got to remember that the Democrats have an advantage across the country on get out the vote, period. They just do. They have unions. They have, a lot of built-in advocacy and interest groups that the GOP doesn't have. And so that's an uphill battle in normal times. In normal elections, there was just some statistics that came out about the November election that said if everybody had turned out, right, if all of Trump's supporters had turned out and all of Biden's supporters had turned out, that Trump would have won in a massive landslide. It wouldn't have been nearly as close as it was. So the fact is that even in November, the Republicans did not turn out as much as they should have or could have. So in these local races, especially, these are special. Like we're not in election season here, guys. This is March and April. Like what? Like people don't usually vote in things at this point, right? These are special elections to fill these House seats. It's a special election for the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And again, by definition, the Dems have a massive built-in advantage that the GOP has to overcome. The thing that's frustrating for me is that there has been zero national attention.
That's the problem.
Sent out a couple posts about endorsements or whatever. And by the way, Trump's endorsements, like whoever is advising him on which person to endorse in a lot of these races needs to be slapped, because talk about his brand. I think the fact that Trump tends to back people that come to Mar-a-Lago and kiss his ass when they turn out to be like crazy wife beaters, they don't vet very well. They don't look at sort of the local issues and the local mix. And a lot of times, and we've seen this a lot over like the last 8-10 years, where Trump will swoop in and just because the one person kisses his ass, that he'll endorse that person who is the worst candidate, and then they end up losing the seat, right? And this needs to stop. It absolutely needs to stop. Whoever is in Trump world that's doing this, you need to step down and shut the fuck up, because
I think one of those people is Don Jr. Unfortunately,
I don't give a shit.
But that's what I'm saying. But it makes a difference, Eric.
He's bad at it. Then he needs to get another fucking job.
But that's the problem is it's his son, and trust.
I don't give a fuck.
Trump is going to. I know you don't, but what I'm saying is,
I'm talking to him.
Trump does. He cares about what his kids say. Like his family's
loyal. Failing. It's one of Trump's downsides for sure.
Absolutely.
And I was not talking to you, Nikki.
Yeah,
I'm upset.
I know you're not. I know. I love it. I love your fire, man. You come on. I don't take it personally.
It's really maddening because it's like really you don't read the internet. You don't see the aftermath of your bad choices one after the other after the other after the other.
Yeah, I mean the Lindsey Graham endorsement alone, like what is that?
Yeah, I did not understand that.
Is there's got to be some power play on Lindsey Graham's part? I'm sorry, that's the only reason I think it's happening. There's got to be some power play that we don't know about.
That one honestly is more understandable to me than a lot of these smaller races where he comes in. Again, a lot of these races, he does not have to come in and stick his thumbs in.
Yes.
And
correct.
He actually
I agree
comes
with you.
in and he screws them up and he causes them to lose. And I hate to say this, again, I know I know Trump watches our little Friday show religiously. So if you're listening to you, man, you got to stop this. Because if you're not sure, or if there's like a guy that you really like personally, who's like muy MAGA versus like a rhino in like a purple district, and the rhino actually has a chance of winning, then don't endorse. You know what I mean? Say, I'm sorry, I'm going to sit this one out. That's okay. Right. But what you do is you swoop in to these local races. And again, it's time after time. It happened in Florida. It's happening right now in the Waltz special election. Trump endorsed the lesser of the two candidates, the candidate that is now looking like he's going to lose that seat.
This is what I was talking about. It's just like back to us, like, if you come and license your brand undiscerningly to anyone, you're going to hurt not only just your brand, but, the people you think that you're trying to win. So
this is where I think your brand argument is actually much more powerful. Like the memes and the shoes and like, I don't know. I like that's sort of on brand for Trump at this point, frankly. But he doesn't protect the MAGA brand like he should. I think that's your point.
That's what I'm saying. And you know what? For decades, we've been pontificating about how bad K Street is, but I hate to say it, and this is to your point, Eric, I'm afraid Mar-a-Lago is becoming like a type of K Street now with Don Jr.
It's a bubble. There was
managing the lobby.
I don't think it's becoming. It was always that way. It was always that way. And it was branded to be that. I mean, it was started to be that way. But
there was I've certainly heard some stories about how certain people get endorsements, especially in these local races. And again, it's par for the course in politics, but
Yes, but let me say this though too. I think that the local gosh, I do think that there is some pushback from MAGA on these issues. I mean, like
There
there was
is.
I don't think
agree.
I saw a positive, not even from the paid influencers, statement coming from anyone who supports Trump about the Lindsey Graham endorsement. I didn't see one. I didn't see one say, "Oh, Trump may be right on this. This is 3D chess or whatever." I thought I saw a lot of, "Yeah, I still like you, Trump, but I ain't going for this one." Like I saw a lot more of that with
Mhm.
the Lindsey Graham situation. But to Eric's point about the other elections where he's making endorsements about people he doesn't even know, or stakes that he shouldn't even get in the middle of, um and that having influence, I do think that makes a difference, because when the GOP itself, when the local party establishment is actually making picks against what the people make or want to make, and then Trump then goes ahead and endorses either the other candidate or
Yeah.
the party establishment pick, that can actually have an effect on local policies, and the establishment pick may not be the right pick, and so then you go out and then you have the vote split, and then they don't win.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it does have an effect. It's not um that may not necessarily be necessary. Let the local team, let the grassroots team, especially when there's a strong grassroots organization, let them decide.
yes,
If
yes,
there's no involvement and the local GOP is just like crazy and there's like no enthusiasm for the election, then absolutely throw your endorsement in. Like this Wisconsin thing, he needs to be all over this. This is one that is consequential. He does need to be all over this and make an endorsement here. Like it needs to be this person, the Republican who's running against this woman who's allegedly backed by Soros. He needs to talk about this. But in like sort of a primary position, when it doesn't matter, then stay out of it. But when there's a local grassroots group that is going for a candidate, then you don't step in the middle of that at all. You leave it. You let the people win there.
totally
But
agree.
yeah, that's the part that I'm having a problem with. But the other point that I want to make, go back to what you said, Eric, is that because there's no national attention here, this is a problem. Scott Pressler is the main one. He's the only one. He's the one that I learned about this. So the Senate special election in Pennsylvania, where they lost a seat in a red district, a district that Trump won, and a district that this state rep was already in. Like it wasn't like this was a winnable election. So, and there were people on social media saying they had no idea that election was taking place. No idea. In Pennsylvania, didn't know. This is the state senator seat. That is 100% a local GOP problem. And whether that means the grassroots or the established infrastructure didn't get out the vote, didn't get out the memo about this election, that's a problem. That says a ton. Trump can't be everywhere. The top of the party, GOP, can't be everywhere. The state, and county governments need parts of the party need to be involved in engaging voters. And if the
Totally agree.
problem is they think, oh, hashtag we're winning at the national level, we don't need to fight these fights at the local level, then that is a problem within the GOP that needs to be resolved. And that's my issue with this.
Can
Why
you?
am I hearing about this from Scott Pressler and not from the head of the Republican National Committee or anybody at their local and state level? That
Right.
that makes no sense.
Right. And again, I think that, if Trump or again, where's Laura Trump? Sorry, You know, she's
She's
supposed to
not.
be
She
that.
left. She stepped down.
Oh, okay. Well, who's Laura Trump V2? Like
Yeah.
you're not doing your job. You're not doing good. And
Yep.
you're right. It is on the locales, right? And they're messy. They're terrible. But can you imagine if Trump had used just a little bit of his oxygen to be like, hey, local PA 26, what are you doing? Why are
Yes,
you
but
failing
but
us?
but again, it needs to get on his radar. He doesn't know every single local race.
We're
Just like we were just
we're
criticizing him
we're
for
agreeing.
getting involved in these other things. He's only involved because somebody in his ear is telling him to.
Right.
But in this particular instance, no one told him. So, and no one told him because the local GOP is a fuck up. That's the problem. Scott Presser can only say it so many times. So do
So,
they want to win or do they want to lose? I don't know.
so we're coming up to the hour. I just want to just second what you said, Nikki. So people don't know this. Like I've said many times before, I'm very, very much involved in grassroots here in New York and recently Florida. And the number one shortcoming I've noticed is that people, like you said, I've done a recent poll. 9 out of 10 people don't even know election dates. They're counting on someone telling them. And that's why they don't show up. So,
Yep.
so we should certainly keep this topic in our menu of on Morning Stream Cafe main menu. Do we? I have a happy bean to close out. Sorry to end so abruptly. Are we ready for it? Or?
Yes, let's bring on a happy bean because I'm angry right now.
Yeah, we gotta
with the
turn the
GOP.
corner.
Yes.
Oh goodness! It says we're having trouble. Okay, sorry guys. Let me find something else. Eek. Sorry. Wait. What about what? Call me a liar. Okay. Doesn't want to. Let me try this one then. Okay. Screen share.
Like a potato. Who has this beautiful potato body? Oh my god, look at this beautiful potato body. You beautiful potato. Oh my god. Who has a beautiful body like a potato? Who has this beautiful potato body? Oh my god, look at this beautiful potato body. You beautiful potato.
Okay. That's my like that.
You got to mix it up when you're talking to your pets. I mean, that person just say the same sentence over and over again.
Did you see? Did I pull it up on the screen?
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
The cute dog.
I hope that made you happy. The person
that was talking is.
It was really more the person that was talking than the dog. It was like, I like the way she said, "Oh, look at that potato."
Over and over again.
Eric, you didn't like that over and over.
I didn't either. It was cute when she first said it, but that was it. Like she just kept saying it.
Being sorry. Yeah, I'll do better next time.
That's okay. No, I always like seeing cute animals. I mean,
just not that one. That's just not that one that's shaped like a potato.
No, it wasn't the pet. The pet was not the problem. It was the voice
woman.
and the repetition. Like say something different. That one time was cute.
Okay, well that was a bust. We'll do better next time. So, I mean, you could bring your happy beans too. So,
oh, we will. By the way, I found out that Michael Watley is the head of the RNC. Laura Trump was the assistant.
Yes,
chair,
correct. She was the assistant chair. She stepped away, but Michael Watley is still in place. So yes,
not to go back to it, but it is very frustrating because, to your point, Nikki, like they don't need to look. We all know that they don't have as much money as the Dems, right? Republicans don't get out like the Dems do. Like it's a huge deficit, but the RNC just doesn't do shit. They don't do anything. They don't try. It's really weird. It's like they just are like, I don't know what you're doing.
isn't like beating a dead horse. I mean, so this would be the opportunity for us to explore where we can step up. That's why it's called grassroots, right?
I can help Florida and Pennsylvania,
Okay, I
Wisconsin
just
as much as I
put a
can.
happy bean in the chat.
Let's
Okay,
do a
good. Happy bean.
Okay.
I'm going.
Thank
I'm
you.
going
Thank
sour
you
again.
the segment. Like, okay, let's.
Yeah, so this is
Thank you.
Matt Swoll, who's been talking a bunch about
came and gave their time and talent, their sweat equity, to be the hands and feet of Jesus Christ.
Samaritan's Purse equipped volunteers, giving them the tools and the leadership necessary to muck out a home like Christopher and Angela King's place, where mud was nearly chest high.
Angelic. It was just a complete crew of angels on earth, as far as I'm concerned.
Remember that.
Sarah and Dennis Rutland from Nyota, Tennessee, have been volunteers for Samaritan's Purse since 2018. They spent several weeks assisting those affected by Helene.
Let me get this real quick.
These are volunteers that will put on a Tyvek suit and help just come alongside these folks and carry the burden with them and share it with them and help get them back on their feet.
Our gratitude is endless. I don't know where we would be, honestly.
If we back up, you can actually see the spread of counties and the density of where our teams have been.
Aaron Ashoff is the executive staff member overseeing the Helene Incident Management Team. He says as the temperature started changing, people needed to stay warm. They needed winter clothing, fuel for generators, and Samaritan's Purse provided it all free.
And what we found is there's still a lot of people that need housing. So the big project with Samaritan's Purse is the rebuild of homes and mobile homes.
We do a background check and credit check, make sure everything they're telling us is truthful. And then we will go in and build them a brand new home free of charge or replace their mobile home free of charge.
Samaritan's Purse presented Dimitri
you can stop there. That's
Dina the keys to a.
I just think it's important for us to remember that, with all the nastiness, all the devastation, all the tragic events that we're having, the spirit of giving and volunteering is still alive. And that is one of the things that has gotten people through Hurricane Helene, when the government was not helping, federal and local government was not helping. There were constant sources of aid and support that were available to people. And that works. And so that is, if nothing else, is an inspiration to kind of get involved at your local level. Something like this can be.
Yeah, we the people is local, not coming from DC. Thank you for the reminder. So, guys, thank you for making this happen. And
absolutely, just real quick, that is the sort of thing that we desperately need to get back to more in the United States in general. That's it. It can happen, and it does happen more on the local level. And watching the federal government fail in front of you, when it affects your family, which is what happened with a lot of these hurricane victims, and Asheville especially, it's really blue dot in the middle of a fairly red North Carolina, and so many of those people just saw their dependence and their assumption that the federal government was going to come in and swoop in with all the power and all the money and sort of bing bang fix things, and not only didn't do that, but made everything worse and more awful, and put in restriction. And it really is an unfortunate way to sort of show people the sad truth of the matter. And the more we get back to this, the better. Looking after your neighbors, this is something we try and desperately do with our families. Like, we have some elderly people that live around us, always helping our neighbors get their trash cans back in. If they need yard work done, just do it. This is what we need to do. This is how humans are best. And
see, I think this shows that we are doing it. I don't think that we're not doing it. And I think we need to see more instances that we are doing it for people to feel encouraged and inspired. That's all.
Well, thank you. I would love to have both of you as neighbors, but we're doing it virtually, so I'll just have to contend with that. All right. Thank you, everyone, for making 32, and maybe we'll do the next one, 33. All right. Take care. Have
All
a
right.
great weekend.
Bye-bye.